Thank you.
I won't kick it.
At least not on purpose.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask everyone to put your cell phones in the silent mode at this time? Officiating the service is Emeritus Rabbi Paul Kaplan and the current Rabbi Ivan Isaacs.
Our God and God of our ancestors, our rock and our redeemer. 1,000 years in your sight are as a passing day, an hour of the night. Our generations come and go while you endure forever. We are always in your hand, O Lord, in death as in life, trusting in your love and in your judgments. O merciful God, strengthen Charlene, Randy, Linda, Jody, Robert, Lori, David, Kim, Emily, Seth, Vidya, Danielle, Jen, Adam, Lois, and the many nieces, nephews, and cherished friends here today for the loss of their beloved Marie Gordon. Help us to look beyond this moment. Help us to realize that death cannot destroy the bonds of your everlasting love. Sustain us with the knowledge of our faith, that you will not abandon our souls to the grave, that you will not allow your faithful to suffer oblivion. For you, O Lord, have taught us the way of life. Through you, our refuge, we gain eternity, and let us say, Amen.
Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hour, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage and the fullness of time, healing, and peace. Times like these, we turn to the words of the Psalms. Those words bring us comfort, both because of their power, beauty to turn our hearts and our souls towards life, towards inspiration, and also because in these difficult times where everything can feel out of order, it's comforting to have those Psalms to guide us, to reach back to. I'll sing Psalm 23, Hebrew, followed by translation. Mizmore David, Adonai Elohim Echsar, Bihino Teshem. nafshi shovev, yanchini bema beitzedek, lema anshimo. Gam ki heilech be'etz almav et lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha nishatecha ema nachamuni aroch lefanai shulchan negetzorei dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi v'vaya ov v'chesed yildefuni kol yemei chayai Veshavti beveit Adonai, Veshavti beveit Adonai, leorech yamim.
The 23rd Psalm is the shortest psalm of the 150. It's only 6 sentences, 57 words in Hebrew. However, it's a cherished gem of so many people. The psalm says, in effect, into each life some rain may fall. No one is immune. Death is a part of all life. And then the verse, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The operative word here is through. We must walk through, not linger, not get stuck. We must sit shiva and mourn, but not to excess. And then it says, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. We can make it through the valley of the shadow of death, through the pain, through the misery, through the hurt and the sorrow, if we have the feeling that God and eternity is with us. I truly hope that not only during the bad and painful times will we find the closeness of God, but also that we experience that closeness through the good times of life, the normal days. I believe that you have the 23rd Psalm. Your pamphlet, please read with me in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. A number of years back, a book was published for young children called Being Torah. I love that name, in that it teaches us to appropriate and take to heart Jewish values and ideals to the extent that they become such a part of our existence that we actually become living Torahs. Such people are rare in this world today. Murray and his beloved wife, Charlene, are such people. They are living proof of what we all aspire to become in all aspects of life. In the Torah, we are reading from the book of Deuteronomy. It contains the discourses of Moses to the people before they enter the promised land. It is said that Moses was the most humble of all the prophets. Humility is hardly the word chosen to depict great leaders. Murray was one of the rare few who embodied this characteristic. With all that Murray had achieved in his life, he never bragged about himself and his many accomplishments or put on airs, but was rather a quiet, humble, unaffected man of integrity, a Southern gentleman, a real mensch. He cared about people first. He was in love with life and his Judaism, and served God in both the synagogue and in all his ways and in everything he did. Of such people, it is an honor and a privilege to be called one of their friends. My wife Linda and I were so honored. I am here today because Murray had requested that his rabbi and friend would conduct this funeral service and be there for his family. It is a sad honor, but an honor nonetheless. On his dying bed, he still wanted to speak to me and hear my voice. The family put me on the phone with him. He spoke softly and then trailed off. And these were his last words. They may have been his last words, but the words ended with the proverbial 3 dots indicating to be continued. Continued through his beloved family, his friends, his colleagues, and all those whose lives touched his own. Elie Wiesel once said, God created man because he loves stories. This is the story of Murray's magnificent life. Murray grew up in Savannah, Georgia. He served in the Navy in World War II. He studied medicine and became a highly respected surgeon. He was the medical staff president at St. Francis Hospital in Blue Island, where he practiced medicine for 45 years until he was 79 years old. But I want to share with you the man beyond the biography, as seen through the eyes of his children and his family. These are the words and sentiments I heard from Randy and Jody and Lori, and from his beloved wife, Charlene. When I'm finished, you will hear directly from Randy, Jody, Laura, and John. As members of the clergy, we are frequently asked, when did you get your calling? A calling is a strong urge toward a particular way of life or career, a vocation, especially when accompanied by conviction of divine influence. I think that too often this term is restricted to members of the clergy. The truth is, a calling is when you realize, or you can say, I was born to do what I'm doing, and you embrace it, and you love every aspect of it. And this was truly true for Murray. He was a model for his children, and he worked hard, and he loved his profession, and his children followed suit. Jody recalls that his innate love of his medicine never made it feel like work. He would even take on emergencies at the house. People would come here and he would remove stitches and other things. He was always available day and night to assist them, even on holidays, like the 4th of July. People who were involved in fireworks accidents would come to their door for help. His love for his profession was also very apparent to Randy and Lori growing up, and is the reason they chose to go into the medical profession as well. Randy recalls a memory where Murray asked him why he chose to go into OBGYN instead of surgery, and he responded, because I didn't want to work as hard as you. But the last laugh was on me, he said, because he would drive into the physician's parking lot for an early morning surgery, and his car would already be there because he was waiting up all night to deliver a baby. Randy also said a special privilege of working alongside my father while on staff at St. Francis Hospital in Blue Island, where he practiced medicine for 45 years. This memory was having my dad assist me on a cesarean section on Christmas Day, so that we didn't have to call in non-Jewish partners on this holiday. This patient remained with me for my entire career and continued to inquire about my father throughout the years. Lori, you echoed these sentiments. You told me what a joy it was to be in the same building as your dad, and that he would pass by your office to exit the building. He never failed to check in and say hello. You told me that he was your role model of how he taught you to be patient with your patients, how to listen to them and pay attention to their needs. What you referred to as the ultimate compliment was when one of your patients would go out of their way to lavish praise on your father, whether that be for saving their life, healing their pain, or for his kindness and understanding. Many of us, many physicians here, know about the Hippocratic Oath, but there's a Jewish oath attributed to Moses Maimonides. What stands out to me in this oath is the phrase, "May I never see in the patient anything but a fellow creature in pain." Murray intuitively understood this and taught by example. Lori, you told me about the times he would be running late for a surgery, and his patients at the hospital would be yelling at the nurses. He would come in after a long surgery where he just saved somebody's life and say in his southern accent or drawl, and I'm sorry, I can't do that very well, "Hey, darling, how you doing?" And he melted the patient's heart. He treated his patients as well as the staff with the utmost respect. One of the challenges of this age is how to properly balance the demands of work and family life. Murray knew how to strike this fine balance. Although Murray had a very busy surgical practice, he would always carve out time for dinner with the family, even if it meant that he had to go back to work right after dinner. Another occasion for family togetherness was celebrating the Shabbat and festivals. This was always included a meal and a celebratory ritual. The vacations by Murray were regarded as sacrosanct, too important or valuable to be interfered with. Jody, you stated he had two main goals for these trips. He wanted to create never to be forgotten memories and also an opportunity for family bonding and togetherness. It was important to Dad that all kids and grandkids got along well. And here are the memories of some of those trips. All of you shared memories of vacations along the Danube River, through the national parks, and to Murray's hometown of Savannah, Georgia. It became an annual event where all of you would drive in the car, including his beloved dog Bogey, who sat on his lap. And it was a special family treat to enjoy with him his favorite foods at Williams Seafood and the Pirate House. You also mentioned memories of going to Downing Cottage and walking the beach at Tybee Island, building sandcastles, and Murray showing his family all his friends. Everyone has a friend during each stage of life, but the lucky ones have the same friend in all stages of life. Some of his earliest friendships from Savannah lasted throughout his entire life. In Jody's words, he loved everyone, his family, his friends. He was beloved by the doctors and nurses he worked with. They were like family. He was the doctor that doctors wanted to go to and nurses wanted to go to. Old partners and colleagues highly respected him and cared greatly for him, even visiting him in the hospital. Jody, you received a phone call from one of the friends when he was growing up by the name of Leon. Leon was 97 years old, and he was heartbroken that his old friend, Murray Gordon, had just passed away. Character counts. Jody, you recall what he taught us was the love of family and the love of his wife. Everyone getting along. He was the epitome of a Southern gentleman, always good and kind. He had incredible integrity. He was kind to everyone. There were outpourings from the community of what a kind and amazing man and legend he was. Murray also loved each grandchild as an individual and respected their personhood and their career choices and supported them in all ways. He also loved the simple pleasures of life. Vodka Gibsons with a cocktail onion, and especially chocolate. Even after his heart attack, the first food he wanted was chocolate, and the last food he ate was chocolate pudding. He loved it to the point where he would take his family to chocolate conventions. It was serious business. The family reminisced about Murray's passions, which included, but were not limited to, golf, the Chicago Bears, and especially his wife of 65 years, Charlene. Even in the hospital, he would open his eyes and see his wife and say how gorgeous she is. Charlene, you told me the story of how the two of you met in 1953, and here's the short version of it. You were dating someone at the time who was a friend of Murray's, but when Murray saw you, he said, "She's mine." Truly love at first sight, and the rest is the story of a whirlwind romance of 13 dates, followed by a 65-year-old marriage of pure bliss. Charlene recalls, we spent every day together doing activities and traveling. In our earlier years, when I was working very hard, I was exhibiting at the Old Town Arts Fair every year. And he would say, "You're supporting me." He would come and help me wrap pictures. His mom would come from Nevada and stay for a month, and she would say, "He's a surgeon and he's wrapping pictures on the street." But it was advantageous for you. I believe an expression of true love is when you make your partner's passions your own, even if they aren't your cup of tea. Taking an interest in the things your partner is passionate about will make them feel special. It shows them that you both like and love them enough to spend your time doing things that they enjoy. And who knows, you might come to enjoy them yourself. Charlene, you told me, I used to love the opera, and he didn't like it, but we still went together. I wanted to weld and create metal sculpture. I signed up for a welding program. Murray didn't want me going alone at night, so he signed up for the class as well. He ended up enjoying it as much as I did, and we created beautiful sculptures together. I went to the Bear games for him in the coldest weather. She said I had to run my hands under warm water in the bathroom. I wasn't crazy about golf, but he loved it, so I did it with him. We shared everything together. We had a very special, loving marriage of 65 years. We were always involved with trips and activities together and had regular Shabbat dinners with the family. When Hanukkah came, he was in charge of making the potato latkes from his mother's recipe and bringing them to the celebration.